So I love planning. This is the poem I wrote. This is the original script. I based the comic off of. It has the same words, just I've added all of the imagery I want in here. This is what I did today, sketching the imagery I want. I know I want it to look like this painting I've done, so I need to start with an acrylic wash and then draw with charcoal on top of it. I don't know if you can see anything. This is the drawing. It's from two different angles. One is wider and I wanted it to be wider so it would fit on this, and I just needed to draw it twice to get a sense of composition and then to paint it because I wanted the colors from the photo that I took. This is the second one I'm doing. I don't have a reference image because I've already drawn it twice. It's existed for a while as this. That's why it's pretty simple right now, because I know how to draw on top of it. Eventually I want to get to this level of detail and shading, but it's gonna be hard on this one because I want to black out the figures, and that's scary. So I decided to actually record my process while doing it instead of just in between. Instead of in between me doing the things. And this is it. All I do is look at a photo and then draw the thing. And I can't really say whether or not it's good since art is subjective, but it is what I was going for. I believe that this style is very forgiving in terms of it's not necessarily close to realism, although it is realistic. It's definitely not anything that requires a lot of thinking about composition. I do a lot of pre-planning to make it easier on myself during the actual process, so I've already drawn this image a bunch of times, as you've seen. I know it pretty well with just based on like the feel. I know what my hand is supposed to do. And this charcoal, when it is on paper that has a little bit of substance to it, teeth, when it has something on the paper, this is Bristol, so it's really smooth, and I wanted it to be smooth so that way it would take paint, not in the way that watercolor paper does. I didn't want it to soak into the paper. I wanted it to float around and make a little bit of some weird shapes, so that's why I used that paper. And charcoal and Bristol would normally not make this sort of texture, but because it has dried acrylic on top that's been watered down, it does. And that texture makes really good wood texture just on its own. When you draw on top of the paper, it almost resembles the texture bark has. Anyway, I was watching Trixie Mattel on YouTube, and every time I got an ad, it was for the suicide hotline. And I don't know if that means that because I watch drag queens on YouTube that I'm suicidal, or if my phone just hears me crying a lot. These are my dogs. Ladybird is on the right. She was a stray, and we took her in from our neighbors. She has now since passed. She was a very good, happy girl. And the one on the left is Bailey. She's a tiny little chihuahua who is codependent on my mother. So that's very, really fun for her. She can't go to the bathroom alone because Bailey will follow her in there. And my mom's in the back, and I am the blacked out figure. Wow, what a time for a metaphor. I'm using 4B and 6B charcoal in this because it's the easiest to draw with, and I love the texture it makes. It is very messy, but so are a lot of other art mediums. And I'm almost done. I just, I don't really know what else to say here. I'm watching Ted Lasso, and it kind of makes me want to cry because it reminds me of Southern people, and I am from the South. I guess one last thing is that I didn't really explain how the drawings are gonna incorporate into the comic itself. I'm planning on making a video about it, not about it, but a video of it. So I will scan the images and then add the text, and that will be the comic, a video comic, I guess. These are the two drawings, or paintings, or both. I have one more to do, but I don't want to do it. So I suppose that will be an activity for tomorrow. Goodbye.